Man, the trade deadline is upon us. Joel Embiid misses yet another game, and Jordan Poole has recruited a new member to his team. But I'm not talking about the Wizards. I'm Rosa Panta. This is the Clinic All NBA podcast. I have the three hooligans with me. JJ, how you living, my friend?
Woo! Feeling good, feeling great. We're back together like Voltron, baby. Let's get it.
She knows she loves Jay because
Exactly like Voltron. John, how you living, my friend?
Hey, we got a full house and I am ready to party. Let's go, like Danny Tanner style. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm Detective John.
And he is back. Sammy, how you living, my friend?
I'm good, man, but I got some bad news for all of you. So the NFL script came out. We know that. The 34th biggest market, the Chiefs, keep winning the Super Bowl. I got the NBA script for next year. And the 31st biggest market, the Spurs are going to be rigged to win the whole thing. So we don't even need to do the podcast. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Already got the script in hand. We already know what's happening.
You lose.
Well, you heard it here first. We'll definitely look back and see if Sammy is correct. But boys, it is great to be back with all of us here. I want to talk about what's coming. And of course, it is the trade deadline. And I have a list here, okay? A comprehensive list of the top trade candidates. And it goes like this: De'Aaron Fox, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, Yusuf Nurkic, and Cam Johnson. And from this list, I want you guys to rank the top 3 players from this list. And we're just talking like best players. We're not talking about fit yet. We're not talking about contract stuff. Just overall top 3 players. Who wants to start?
I'm not gonna start, but I do just want to point out for the viewers that can't see the outline of the screen here. Next to Yusuf Nurkic's name, there's an LOL next to it, and it's the only LOL. Yo, come on, man, what's disrespect out here? All right, that's all. Go ahead, somebody else start.
That's the truth. He ain't even a candidate. So just throwing the names out that we've seen, for me, top of the list has to be De'Aaron Fox, just based on durability, talent, availability in terms of contract. I think that's probably the top player for me.
Yeah.
In a 1-year vacuum, like you just want the playoffs this year and you think he'll behave, then you put Butler up there. Of course, obviously everyone knows about that saga at this point. Apparently his price has come way down because he's done a good job basically doing whatever he can to get the hell out of Miami. For me, I'm going to put Zach LaVine pretty high on the list. I think he's had a great year, and we got to the point where he was considered damaged goods for so long that I think people don't realize how well he's playing. And I think with the right team, he would really shine and make an impact. So I'll go with those 3.
Bruh.
I like those picks, Sammy. I think that was like spot on in terms of talent. I'll play it a little differently. But I think I'm gonna put Zion number 1. Just because when he is healthy.
Wow.
I know. I have to play it different from what Sammy was saying, because he kind of hit the nail on the head. If Zion goes into a situation, and I know you mentioned Fitgen, but if he does go to a situation where he's motivated, I think we could potentially see a star that could change the whole dynamic of a team. When you talk about Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal, I see their stars. One's aging, the other one can't really fit with other superstars, and he's a ball-dominant player. De'Aaron Fox, of course, he's very talented, but high risk, high reward, John. I'm going to say Zion as a trade target that, of course, there are a lot of risk, but if he does become the player that we thought he should be in terms of motivation and being in shape, I think he could thread the needle for a new team.
I will say this, Jay. The Zion Williamson one intrigues me a bit because I was hating on it initially, but the more I think about it, like Zion is that guy. If he gets his issue hasn't been basketball. I mean, obviously it's been injuries, but he just had too many distractions, like whether it's the food distraction, the weight distraction, the girl distraction. You know what I mean? So like I could totally see him going to a new environment, and if he gets his head on straight, that's a big ask. Like I could totally see that. So I'm not gonna hate on it. I think that's a good out of left field pick. The top 3 players for me: De'Aaron Fox, Jimmy Butler, and as much as I want to say Yusuf Nurkic, just because there's that LOL next to him, I'm not gonna venture that. I'm not gonna go that far. Honestly, I think it's so De'Aaron Fox, Brandon Ingram, and Jimmy Butler are my top 3.
Right.
Well.
I think I'm the only one that's gonna even include Brandon Ingram here.
No, Sammy did.
John did.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry.
Oh, you
De'Aaron
did?
Fox, Brandon Ingram. No.
Okay.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. Oh my man, dude, my memory is getting worse. That's like a new record for me. 10-second loss of memory.
I'm gonna talk about Brandon Ingram a little more here. To have a forward like that could really stretch the floor and also score, and he also has a little bit of like a mid-range game as well. I think that's highly desired on any basketball team, and I think out of all these players, he would probably have the most seamless fit with almost any team. De'Aaron Fox, I don't know if you guys remember, but he used to share a court with Tyrese Halliburton, and it was really difficult for him to produce in the same way that he was in the past. So that's the only thing that I worry about De'Aaron Fox. It has to be like the perfect place for him to really control the ball. That's the only thing that I see for De'Aaron Fox, but they are my 1 and 2. So De'Aaron Fox, Brandon Ingram, and then Zion Williamson. I'm gonna take us to the next part of this topic here, which is what is the best dream location and trade candidate pairing that you have from this list? Who wants to start us off?
I'll throw one out there. So this team has been rumored to say they want to stay put, see how their guys grow, and it makes sense. But I personally love the idea of putting De'Aaron Fox in Houston.
Ooh.
Because I think Fred VanVleet's totally fine as a point guard, but he's definitely more shoot first in that way. And in terms of like just timeline, he's a little bit older than the rest of those guys. I think Fox would be a really good distributor there with Thompson and with like potentially Şengün to work a little 2-man game there. Most likely Jalen Green would go the other way as part of that deal, but they have so many assets. They could trade for pretty much anyone they want, and I like that matchup a lot. So like I said, I know the rumors that they don't want to do anything, and I get it, but if I was to put 1 and 1 together, that one makes a lot of sense to me.
So I know there's been a lot of talk about De'Aaron Fox in San Antonio, but the one place I think for me would propel this team to the next level is the Orlando Magic. I could totally see him with Paolo Banchero and that group, and I think that would kind of push them to kind of that upper echelon of teams in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if they'd be contenders. I mean, obviously there's a lot that goes into it with chemistry and familiarity, but I think Orlando Magic would be incredible fit for, and I just don't see that happening though. He vehemently said, right, that he doesn't want to play for a few teams, and I think he wants to play for the Spurs.
Yeah, I like that fit a lot though. On paper, on basketball fit, that makes a lot of sense.
I like that. I like both of your guys' picks. I'm gonna go back to what I went with the rankings with Zion, and I know I could hear people kind of talking smack about my pick, but straight up, Zion as a number 2 on a legitimate team, I'm telling you, people would be scared to death. Prime location for Zion Williamson. Imagine if he went to the Spurs and it was him and Wemby for the new Twin Towers, and you got CP3 yelling at his ass.
Well, I know there's one place that Zion should not go, Atlanta.
yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's rough.
As important, John, right? A place that he shouldn't go.
I digress. Sorry, go ahead, Jay.
No, yeah, I'm just gonna conclude my thoughts, which I was just like thinking, perfect spot where Zion could thrive as a number 2. And I was thinking Wemby is, the go-to player, but if it was Wemby for the shot blocker and then Zion to pick up the garbage for boards and points and just pushing the pace with speed, that's like the perfect 1-2 punch.
Who would the Spurs give up? Did you mention that? Who do you think they would have to give up in order to make that happen?
Would Castle be part of that list?
Yeah,
Probably.
I think
And what's
Castle
his
will be your
name?
starting point, right? And then
Yeah.
they have a ton of picks from some past trades. So CP3 would actually probably have to go the other way just
have to go.
Yeah,
contract.
dude.
And the great irony would be him
Yeah.
going back to New Orleans.
Yes.
Yeah.
All these years later, but Castle would probably be your main piece, and then it would be Castle, salary, and just a ton of picks would probably be the main construction of that deal. The only other person I could think of that might go the other way, depending on the value, is Devin. Is it Vassell?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vassell.
Potentially
Vassell.
would be your other piece that might go the other way. I think one of Castle or Vassell, not both.
Okay.
I don't know. If they can make that happen, that'd be like completely amazing. But if we're just talking about dream location and a trade candidate, I mean, I hate seeing Anthony Edwards not on a really good Timberwolves team. And I think seeing either Zion Williamson or Brandon Ingram making their way over to the Timberwolves would be amazing, just because I cannot watch Randall anymore, man. Alongside him, like,
You and all of Minnesota.
honestly, Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves the last 2 seasons have been such a joy to watch. But like this year, I can't even watch him.
My turn.
It's really difficult to watch, and it sucks because Anthony Edwards is one of the most likable NBA stars that this league has. Like, when LeBron and Steph Curry are out on the pasture, I think it's Anthony Edwards' turn. We've definitely had a podcast on this before, and we all had the consensus that we hope that it's his turn, because he's got the personality, he's got the style, he's got everything.
I hate that trade so much.
Just give him a better team, dude. Give him a better team, please. Okay. Any more thoughts on that?
I'm
No.
with you. Yeah, that Randall trade, like, I honestly thought it would work out a little better than it did, but if
We remember the text, Sammy.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, I will admit that trade.
Excuse me.
Sammy, no one was gonna bring it up, but you're the one who brought it up, and so
Yeah,
you did
dude,
it.
if you're
You did
gonna
the work
go
for
there,
us.
dude,
No,
you
no.
know?
No, I'm saying, like, the version of Randall we got in New York is what I thought was going to go to Minnesota, and I thought he'd be motivated because his contract expires. You know how much money that dude has cost himself this year
True.
with the way he's been playing. So, no, I'm with you guys. Like, it's just the problem right now is Randall has played himself out of anyone wanting to take him on. The only way he gets dealt now is going to a bad team who wants the expiring contract. So there's still good players that could go the other way, but it's purely as a contract asset now. It has nothing to do with the player. So he cost himself so much money, but that's another story.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
the new
agreed.
rules, I don't even know if like his contract is even tradable, because they just newly acquired him.
After January, it just became available. I think that, like, they can move him now.
Oh,
Yeah, I believe.
Okay.
I believe they
so
can
you're
move him
saying
now.
They
there's
should.
hope?
There is
They
hope
should.
to ship him out. Yeah.
They should. Hey, can I get a quick honorable mention before we move on to number 3?
Yes, Yusuf Nurkic.
Yes, to the
For
Warriors.
the Lakers.
All right, let's go. Yo, you can't. You're too slow. You gotta be quicker with that. You gotta be quicker. What do you say, Warriors?
Oh my gosh! If my hopes are freaking Nikola Vucevic and I get Yusuf Nurkic, I'm gonna be so pissed, dude. From this list, who is the worst investment? And we're talking about
Alright.
them as a total package here. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'll just kick us off. It's the easiest one. It's the most obvious one. Bradley Beal. He is getting paid an obscene amount of money. He has a no trade clause, so he can basically determine where he gets to go, killing a lot of the Suns' leverage. And he is always injured. I don't know. I don't know on the top of my head how many games he's played, but it can't be a lot. Not even just this season, but within the last couple of years, I'm sure it hasn't been a lot of games he's played. So Bradley Beal, without question, and I won't delay this anymore. I'll kick it off to JJ.
Dang, there's so many good picks for bad contracts here. It's hard to pick from. You got Zach LaVine, who is so talented, but his contract was so bad that in a trade market where there are desperate teams to get over that hump, no one wants that contract. I mean, you could go with Jimmy Butler. He's already 37. You could go with Brandon Ingram, about to get paid over $40 million. Oh man, Sammy, like, do I dare say Nurkic? You're paying this dude $18 million and he's literally in street clothes right now.
Yeah, I really think LeBron could revitalize him though.
LeBron needs to revitalize himself first.
He could learn a lot, studying under AD.
Exactly.
You never know.
You guys,
I mean, AD's injured right now. It's already starting. It's already starting.
Damn you guys.
All right, I'm going to give you a sneaky one not on this list. I want to see if you can figure this out really quick. So there's a player who trade whispers have very lightly started with, whose contract does not end until a player option in 28-29, and by that point, this player is making over $60 million a year. Do you have any idea who I'm talking about?
60 mil?
Mm-hmm.
Buckets. Give me buckets.
Can you give me a position?
This might give it away. Center.
Kawhi?
No. Kawhi's contract is up in 2 years. Center. Contract does not expire technically until 29 with the player option. Player option year is $69 million.
Joel?
Center.
Bingo.
It's Joel Embiid.
Yes.
Huh.
I respect the dude's talent, but when he's 34, he's going to be taking up roughly 34% of the salary cap. And what evidence do we have that a 34-year-old Joel Embiid is going to play more than 30 games a year? I think they just signed the extension last summer.
What was that stat, Sammy, about, speaking of the games played? Wasn't it like almost nearly a 50-50 split since he entered the league?
Yes.
Crazy.
And that's in his 20s. So I know he wasn't on our list, but the whispers have started of would the 76ers consider getting out? You know what? You can quote me and I'll eat this one too if I'm wrong about it. If I was them and they could unload him this summer with that kind of money coming, I would do it in a second, because how can you trust the dude to actually play and play well at that number 4 years from now? There's no way.
They should build around Maxey.
100% I agree with you on that. And now you've got Embiid on the books for 60 and Paul George on the books for 45 or 50.
Playoff P, baby.
Yeah. So you got to unload one of those. So I know he wasn't on the list, but I've started hearing on different, reliable podcasts that they might be whispering, is it time to get out? I'm going to throw that one at you guys and see if you would agree, or if you think I'm over, if this is recency bias on my part at all.
This was actually the next topic on our list here.
Let's go then.
The stat here is actually Joel Embiid has missed his 400th game, which is about 47% of his career total of games.
Crazy.
So I don't think you're going overboard with thinking that Joel Embiid has one of the worst contracts. It makes it tough that 1 or 2 of those years he was an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
And he was really, really, really good.
Absolutely.
Over that stretch. Really good. And he would have won multiple MVPs if it weren't for someone named Nikola Jokic, who is just incredible, right? But when you look at 47%, that's pretty wild. There's a question on our outline here. It says, who's more injury prone, Kawhi or Joel? Shots fired.
And I, as the Clippers fan, was the one who was saying that.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna look it up right now, but I will bet you if we look it up, Kawhi has played more games in the last 4 or 5 years outside of the season missed for ACL, that's an ACL, right? But
Yeah, great.
I'd be willing to throw that out there that Kawhi's played just as many, if not more. And then the conversation with Kawhi that always comes up is, well, he misses the playoffs. When has Embiid been fully healthy playoffs in the last 5 years? Like, he's never even been out of the second round. So I think that's the path we're going down, where those two are a comp for each other. Kawhi right now, I want to say, is 33.
33, and Joel's 30.
Yeah, and Embiid's games played is worse than a 33-year-old Kawhi. That's why I think this is such an interesting conversation, because the conversation on Kawhi every year is, well, he misses a million games. Well, Embiid might be worse.
JJ, do you think it's time to trade?
Joel?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fellas hit the nail on the head. I'm just going to say this, which is with Kawhi, his injuries are due to misfortunes from other players or just bad movement, right? You could argue, and I've heard 76er fans even talk about this, that Joel, his injuries come from himself. Like, he'll like flop, or then he'll land super crazy because like he's on the floor. It's just like self-inflicted is the word that I want to say with Joel. Like, he just flops, man, and like his game, he's always complaining. I think there's a lot of distaste within NBA fans with Joel just because how he is. I don't know if I'm like just being like a really bad NBA fan right now, but that adds to me like wanting to trade him. Am I out of line, fellas, or what?
I don't think so. I mean,
My only...
go for it.
Go ahead, Sammy. No, go ahead.
No, please. I'm all for it. Just based on that and just based on the injury history. But that's what I was gonna say. Go for it, John.
I think it's at least, at the very least, nearing that time. But I also think that you at least owe it. And I know this is a big ask because they barely played to get with each other. I still think they can sneak into the playoffs or get into the play-in in the Eastern Conference, right? I think obviously the Eastern Conference, there's more room for that, especially in the lower seeds. And you give yourself a chance with this group that you've put together, right? Hopefully they can all... I don't think it should happen this season, but I think it should happen at the very earliest next season, if they can make it happen. But I think you give yourself a shot. I mean, you added Paul George, and I get it. He's been always injured, and Joel Embiid's barely played. But if you can all get into a groove towards the middle at the end of the season and somehow sneak into the playoffs, who knows what can happen? You know what I mean? So...
Yeah, I think this would be a summer trade. It's too big. It impacts the chemistry too much. So I'm with you on that. Like, you let the season play out. Sorry, Jim, go for it.
I was gonna ask you guys, what do you guys think his trade value is?
Oh, I still think you can get a decent haul for Joel Embiid just based on the talent alone, and the game. He is in today's game. You need a big that can shoot the ball. Like, that is paramount more than ever, right? Like, you need, at the very least, to have the ability to shoot well. And Joel Embiid is his mid-range game. He can even shoot the three. I don't like when he does that, but his mid-range, he has one of the best mid-ranges in the game. And as a 7'1" center, and then he can score on all three levels basically. And I think having that is such a benefit to your team. Obviously, health aside, but so many teams would kind of take that risk in order to have a chance, because he does propel your team to have a chance to win a championship if he's available. And I think a lot of teams would take that risk. So I think you can get a lot for him.
Just going to throw out in the trade machine here, Joel Embiid for Jimmy Butler works straight up, baby. Let's make it happen. Send him to Florida.
Oh, Lord. I mean, I think Pat Riley would do that in a second.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way that the Sixers would do that.
The Sixers, if they were really that worried about the contract, and Miami was willing to give up some firsts, that would actually get them out of Embiid's contract. and
Yeah.
let them clean slate, and they could theoretically figure out between Butler and PG if they were trying to unload him what they wanted to do. But I just found it funny that I just looked at it now and the numbers actually match up like within a couple $1 million.
Okay, quick answers here from JJ and Sammy, because John already kind of said his answer. JJ, would you be happy if the Warriors acquired Joel Embiid?
Yes.
That says a lot.
Yes.
That yes says a lot. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Tabby, what about you? If
For the Clippers?
sorry, not yet to the Clippers.
The Kawhi Embiid games played combination is going to be a hard pass for me. I'm sorry, and I'm so happy with Zubac and his 3-year, $58 million deal. I'm good.
All right. Sounds good. I'm going to take us to our next topic here. Jordan Poole says he's recruiting new members to his secret society of NBA cat dads. And this is a quote here. I may or may not have convinced Steph Curry to get a cat. It's sort of a cool community, like a cool cat community. We just kind of keep it in the house. You've got to knock a couple of times for us to let you in. A secret code. A lot of guys are dog people, but just the energy and the way I talk about them, the pictures and the videos and stuff that I show them, it just gives them a little bit more interest. And he's talking about cats there. So I give them a different perspective. Maybe they're not as much maintenance, but they're still really dope companion to have. You don't really take them out, you don't really have to take them out 3 or 4 times a day. You could still get your rest. Normally, my peers like to explore it. I've had a lot of friends and teammates who are also cat people.
You know,
Well, we're here now.
I'm Michael Jackson. You
About Jordan Poole and his cat dads.
you know, I know I'm gonna get a lot for this, but I never understood why Draymond Green punched Jordan Poole until today.
It's because it's a cat.
What the hell? Like, well, what is like? I'm just real out of curiosity. Like, where did this spawn from? Because I heard about this, but I don't. Was this a question that was asked by the interview, like an interview, or did he just?
I think it was on some podcast, but I don't know which one.
Okay. Hawk Tua. I don't have any thoughts on this. I just think it's it's in all seriousness. I mean, it's harmless. I'm just messing around with the Draymond Green, Jordan Poole incident. I'm a dog person. I got a dog. I'm indifferent on cats. Like, they're cool. They're whatever to me. So I don't know. I don't have much thought on this, but I'd love to get JJ, since Jordan Poole is his 4th favorite player of all time.
Favorite warrior of all time.
My take, John, I guess would be, I mean, it's cool. Like, each person has their quirks, their own interest.
Mm-hmm.
For myself, I'm a dog person. I'm allergic to cats. When I was dating my wife, when she was my girlfriend, I actually didn't want to go to her house because she had a cat. And when I walked into her room, I just had a huge allergic reaction. And when I think about cats, Sammy probably knows the reference of this. I think about the crazy old cat lady that has 10 cats. She can't see. She has her eyes rolled back. Crazy ass hair. And that's what I think of cat owners, that character from The Simpsons. So it's nothing personal. That's what I just associate cat people with. No shout out to cat people because I'm a dog person.
And you did a really good job faking that you were allergic to cats to make sure you wouldn't have one after you got married, by the way. And that story that you told, good job.
Exactly.
Yeah. I am also actually allergic to cats and also not a cat person. I will say it's interesting that the words choice he used was so vague, other than throwing Steph's name out there and saying he might have a cat. Like, how do you might have a cat? You either know he does or you know he doesn't.
Yeah, that was like weird, right?
Yeah, so
I may or may not have convinced him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, Steve.
why don't you just say yes
Steph
or
ain't got
no?
cat. Steph ain't got no cat. But it's just interesting. He's so vague about it. Like, that we have our own society. I feel like it's a society of one. And
Touche.
Those are my thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, I think we've pretty much exhausted this topic here. I'm gonna get to our next one, and it is about Isaiah Stewart. He's been in a lot of trouble lately. The Pistons' big man Isaiah Stewart has found himself in trouble again after he committed yet another unnecessary foul. This time, he was ejected from his team's matchup with the Indiana Pacers on Wednesday after he shoved Thomas Bryant, and it was ruled a flagrant. I want to talk about his resume a little bit here. This is the second time this season that Stewart has been ejected from a game for a flagrant 2 foul. The first came back on November 13th when Stewart yanked Giannis Antetokounmpo to the ground by his jersey during the Pistons' overtime loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. Stewart has received a flagrant 1 for elbowing the Nets' big man Noah Clowney in the neck during the Pistons' win on January 8th, and got a technical for a scrap he had with Dalen Terry in a loss to the Chicago Bulls on November 18th. And he was suspended 3 games last season for punching Drew Eubanks before a game, and had a notable incident in 2021 where he tried to get into a fight with LeBron James during a game. So this man has quite the resume here, but I feel like he is not the only one with a resume like this. We just have players that are like this in our league. They're far and few between, but I want sort of your thoughts on players like Isaiah Stewart, like Draymond Green, like Dylan Brooks. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna just say that the league needs this. John, you always mention that you hate the buddy system in the NBA where these superstars, they dap it up, they're on each other's podcasts, they go to Cabo together, they're drinking each other's tequila. Draymond is saying, I can't have the king inside of me, and he's drinking LeBron's tequila. It's like, come on, man. You're Draymond Green. You can't be doing that, dog. You gotta be more conscious of what you post online. Unless he intentionally wanted to post, LeBron is inside of me, and he's drinking LeBron's tequila. So, boys, Sammy Johnson, I love these type of players. They bring the drama. I mean, you hate them if they're not on your team, but you love them when they're on yours.
I agree. I mean, I don't like, unless he's seriously hurting somebody or he's causing, you know what I mean, or he's trying to start like a fight in the back.
Which he has.
Well, like,
Is.
okay, yeah, I guess he kind of is, but like when I say, I'm talking about like putting somebody out for like an entire, you know what I mean, or like when I think of like Kurt Rambis is getting clothesline, and I'm like comparing to that, or like when Doug Christie and Rick Fox would get into like those fights, like that was serious stuff back in the day. I mean, we grew up on basketball like that. So to me, the stuff that he's doing, I've seen replays. It's like it doesn't. I compare it to that. So relative, it's like it's not much to me. But I agree with JJ. I think it's lost that kind of that fire, that intensity, and I'm not condoning violence, but I think that the whole fraternizing and getting along with like the people that you're supposed to play against. I know it's just a game, it's competition, but like there's just kind of that it does lose that allure of like the storylines behind it, right? Like we like to tell stories, we like to hear stories, and that's part of the reason why we watch, I think, sports. And I think, and I'm going to use the NFL as an example because I know Sammy's here, and no better time to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs when the number one fan is here on the podcast. So I will say that the NFL, despite about how much a lot of people don't like the Chiefs and they're sick of them winning, I mean, that's obviously common knowledge. A lot of people feel that way. It's good to have a villain, to someone to root against. It like people watch the sport because of that, right? It's not just that they like the sport, it's that the storylines behind it, the drama, and I think the NBA is missing that. quite frankly. So, again, I think we need more people like that. The only thing is that Isaiah Stewart's kind of like a nobody, and I feel bad saying that, but he's really not a premier top player, top tier player.
To say that.
And if it was somebody like a top tier player, it would get a lot more coverage and it would be a lot more meaningful. So that's my only thing about it. It's like Isaiah Stewart. Who's talking about Isaiah Stewart? Like, let's be real.
The only thing I would say is I don't mind it either, to an extent. Like you said, if there's no one's actually getting hurt. Dylan Brooks on this list, the only thing for me is it's almost like he's trying too hard. He reminds me a little bit of, take your pick, either Lance or Deshaun Stevenson, either one. Like where I'm trying to make it a point that I'm a distraction, but it's so much that it's ridiculous. Stewart at least, and Draymond, especially peak Draymond, was more just, it was about intensity. It wasn't about like putting on a show. That I think we are on the same page on. Like the name that pops into my head when I'm thinking of this is actually like Rasheed Wallace. Like you hated him if he wasn't on your squad, but you loved him if he was there. And it's interesting that all these dudes played for the Pistons, like going back to Lambeer before that. Like they're all kind of that mold.
Yep.
In a sense. So yeah, as long as there's not to the point where he's like costing the team games with flagrant fouls and stuff like that, because then that's another level where you're actually hurting the team with actions. But otherwise, I agree with you guys. The game has changed, and sometimes you miss those rivalries. Especially all of us are like '90s kids in a sense, and you had like Bulls Knicks, Knicks Heat, Bulls Pistons going back to the '80s. Like those rivalries were so intense that they made the games more entertaining, even if the teams were putting up like 75 to 80 points, because it added another layer that I think we are lacking a little bit in today's game.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you guys. I think these personalities, I just wish they were all on at least like top 5 teams. Because I think the Detroit Pistons, I think they're like in the play-in right now as it is. And no one is really giving the Detroit Pistons a fighting chance to make it to the NBA Finals this year. Sorry, Detroit. But yeah, I completely agree with you guys. I'm going to take us to our next topic here. Adam Silver is considering switching or potentially shortening the NBA games to 40 minutes from its current format of 48 minutes. He had this to say: something else that I'm a fan of, and I'm probably in the minority as we get more involved in global basketball. The NBA is the only league that plays 48 minutes. I'm a fan of 4 10-minute quarters. And he said this on Dan Patrick's show. I'm not sure that many others are, putting aside what it means for records and things like that. I think that a 2-hour format for a game is more consistent with modern television habits. People in arenas aren't asking us to shorten games, but I think as a television program, Olympic basketball is 2 hours. College basketball is, of course, 40 minutes. He says he'd be a fan of the 10-minute quarters, 40-minute games. What do you think what would this mean for the league and its fans? What do you guys think?
Can I complain first?
Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
You want to cut back on the time and make it a little bit more flow a little better? Let's try to find a way to cut back on the amount of time reviews take. Let's cut a commercial or two back.
Yep.
There are so many other ways that you could streamline the game, but all of them on some level would probably cost the league advertising revenue, particularly cutting back a commercial break or two. That's why he wants to go to 10 minutes in theory, because at the end of the day, it's bottom line, right? So I sort of get his end game, but I think there are other ways to do it. Right now, there are games to me, not all games by any means, because I love basketball, but there are some games that get really choppy because it feels like they take a million breaks to me. And maybe I'm exaggerating it. If they wanted to go back to 10, at least it would mirror college in the Olympic Games, so I get it. But I think that to me is a bigger issue in terms of television habits, which he's referring to. I'd be a lot more likely to watch 12-minute quarters with less breaks than I would 10-minute quarters with the same amount of breaks. So what do you guys think?
So 8 minutes reduction in total, it equals to 8 minutes, to your point, Sammy, could be 8 minutes used for additional ad revenue, additional commercials.
Right.
And so I feel like this is just a way to, Adam Silver knows that that's the main reason, at least I think, I suspect, that's the reason why they want to cut the minutes down, not just because. But then on the reverse side of that, as I'm just thinking through it right now, is it will keep some of the players more fresh. Maybe it will prevent some injuries, their availability, and they'll play more games instead of sitting out games. Maybe they'll get less injuries. So, I mean, I don't want to completely discount what Adam Silver is thinking here, but I mean, I think he's trying. One thing I will give credit to Adam Silver is that he's trying to make the product better. Whether or not that comes to fruition, it remains to be seen. But he's at least trying, right? I mean, he knows that the ratings are down. We've talked about this on previous episodes. So at least he's trying something different and not just sitting there with his hands in his pockets like Darvin Ham, right? Like, I know I had to take a stab at Darvin Ham, like no longer the Lakers coach, but the PTSD is coming back. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts. JJ or Ro?
The main thing that he said from my takeaway from his quote was the 2-hour format, and both of you hit the nail on the head. I keep saying that, but you guys are making great points throughout this pod. It's the officiating, man. Like, you guys call all these fouls and it just slows up the game, especially within the last 2 minutes. Like, until recently, the last 4 years, we're now strategizing if you need to foul if you're up by 3. It's like that was never like a thought. It was always like, let's play D. What happened to the concept of teams playing defense? Like right now, it's so focused on offense that every little physical play, it favors the offense and you get called for a foul. Let's just let them play like the 90s. That was a quote that was mentioned a lot during this podcast, but bring it back. If you want it 2 hours as well, don't say that a game starts at 7 and then it starts at 7:22, like today's OKC and Golden State game. That's a huge complaint amongst fans, fellas, that they start the game super late.
Yeah, especially for our East Coast friends. You know, that's even late for us, and we're on the West Coast.
Right.
And Jay, I know you're saying if you want to take it back to the 90s, but I'm just thinking about what we saw with Team USA and the international basketball flow that we saw. The one thing that we liked about it is that the game was moving fast because of the rules that they had. And there wasn't a bunch of stoppages, like we said. Just adopt all of the rules except the 3-point line, because I like the distance of our 3-point line. That's a conversation for another day, but I don't know. I kind of see what Adam Silver is trying to do, is trying to appease like two sides here, but is really actually trying to put more money in his pocket. Because I'm sure he's using the angle like, hey, that's less minutes played for the players. That means they'll be more available for games, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. If you're going to change one of those things and say, as we get more involved in global basketball, change the whole thing, because I really like the flow of global basketball. With our next topic here, we're going to talk about Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark has... I know it's an all
Who has
NBA.
control of the sound? Who had control of the soundboard?
No, it's all NBA. Okay.
Like, I just cannot. I cannot with the person with the soundboard. If
we are going to
is
circle
JJ,
back
that
to the
guy right
NBA.
there.
Okay. We're gonna bring it back. Don't worry, listeners. Caitlin Clark, okay, has told the NBA that she's decided to decline to participate in the All-Star Game 3-point contest next month that could include Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Sabrina Ionescu. Her decision was confirmed by her representatives, and they basically said she wants her first 3-point contest to be a WNBA All-Star contest in Indianapolis this summer. What are you guys' thoughts about Caitlin Clark declining the 3-point contest this year? Don't you dare hit that no button. Don't you.
He was thinking about it too. You
I saw his hand shaking, dude.
All right.
That's what happens. Go ahead.
Try to be
Sammy.
real
Even
about
that
this.
look.
Like, I want to try to be real about this. I think there's two different ways
right.
that she might be looking at this. Probably with conversations from management. Because we got to give her credit. There's way more interest in the WNBA than there's ever been before. And based on just metrics, drivers, all that, she's the primary reason. To me, there's two possible reasons. One, she goes there. It's a longer shot, obviously. Doesn't have the performance she's hoping. It makes her look bad. That's one possible reason. And in turn, makes the entire WNBA product look bad. Because for the casual fan, even if she's not the MVP, she's the most recognizable player, right? The other thing could be, because I guess her representation said, and I think you mentioned this, that she wants the first one to be at the WNBA event. If she's the reason that they're attracting eyes, better off having her attract eyes at their event rather than the NBA event. So I could see the logic there either way. I think it was Sabrina Ionescu who came and did the one with Steph before, but she's a draw on a level that the WNBA has never had. So purely from the business perspective, it does make sense to me for those two different reasons. And because I know we needed one serious take here, I will now defer to my friends, to my colleagues here for their take on this topic.
I'm offended that you think I'm not going to provide a serious take here. I'm offended for JJ that you think he's not going to provide a serious take here. Actually, you know what? That's valid, Sammy. After I talk about this, bro, you should probably just cut JJ's mic so he can't speak on the topic. All right, my thoughts on this. Honestly, my initial thought was if Caitlin Clark was the only female who was participating or asked to participate, I think I could maybe understand her reluctancy to do so. But because there's Sabrina Ionescu, I think she should participate. And part of it is because of her draw from a lot of fans, right? She has really put the WNBA on the map, if we're being honest. I mean, she's the primary reason. She's not the only reason. But I think it would be good to kind of intertwine and mesh the NBA and the WNBA. I mean, I know that they talk about it's like a family, we don't talk about genders, but like she really, I think it would bring a lot more viewers. I think it would be good for the event, the All-Star weekend. But again, to Sammy's point, I also want to see the other side of it as well. Like a lot of it is protecting herself from the ability to. She's going to get a lot of criticism, I think, regardless, unless she performs exceptionally well. Anything below that, even if it's just like an average performance, she's going to get grilled. That is what people are doing with Caitlin Clark. She's been ostracized, critiqued, grilled throughout her entire rookie year. And I think, that's unfair, but I think that comes with the territory with when you're that person who puts a certain sport on the map and does a lot of good things for a particular cause, you're going to get that criticism. It just comes with the territory. I still think she should just buck up and perform. I think, people are gonna critique you regardless. Just do it. Nike. That's my thought. JJ.
All right.
Did you unmute his mic? I was kidding about that.
So I'm just gonna say this, which is I want to provide the same respect that we should, right, with all individuals that are professional athletes. We, as a pod, as a group of friends, complain when we have people like LeBron, Anthony Edwards, and they don't want to participate in the dunk contest. Why? Because the dunk contest and these events are made for who? The most important person of the product, the fans. And when you have fans that are having now migrating or becoming familiar with the WNBA and this opportunity is here, and you don't seize that opportunity, and you're showing that I know Sammy, you even said this too, like it's a business move. I also see that joining this 3-point game with Steph and Clay, right? And Sabrina is a business move, and you're drawing more fans to it. Like, you should do it. You should seize the opportunity. It's not only promoting yourself, you're also promoting the WNBA, and you're also helping out your fans, and you're creating more fans. Like, if we're gonna have the same energy for LeBron, right? Or if we're gonna come at LeBron, we gotta come at Caitlin Clark with the same energy, because she wants to be great. She claimed that she wants to be great. If you want to be great, you got to put yourself in these situations like this. And you just look straight up scared. That's my take. I think she's scared. And I think that's not a professional athlete. I know you're protecting your brand, but hey man, look at us. We want to see greatness on the court. That's what it comes down to. We want to see greatness on the court.
And the crazy thing is that, like, I'm sure Caitlin Clark listens to our podcast every day.
Yeah, of course.
We think you
Not
can
anymore.
Well, I'm gonna bring her back, dude. I'm gonna bring her back right now. We legitimately think that Caitlin Clark has a chance to win the 3-point contest.
She got serious range.
Yeah, that's
She
respect,
is
man.
an incredible shooter. They're not they could have invited anyone from the WNBA for the last 15, 20 years, right?
Well, they wouldn't invite Angel Reese. We know that.
They should now, though.
Unless it was like a rebounding contest.
That would be hilarious.
The way-
if they invited her now.
I'm just saying, like, I would be super duper locked in to this 3-point contest if she was gonna be there. It is not just a draw for WNBA fans, it is a draw for NBA fans as well, because that's a matchup that would be a lot of fun to watch. Even if I heard that, like, they were considering doing it as like a duo thing, a duo competition, where it's gonna be potentially like Steph and Clay versus Sabrina and Caitlin Clark, and that would be even more fun, right? So I don't know. I'm disappointed that Caitlin Clark isn't going to be on there, but I do get kind of the assumptions that, like, maybe she's, I don't know, JJ thinks that maybe she might be a little scared, or maybe it'll hurt her brand. But you can't think about any of those things, like JJ said, if you're going to be great.
But what's crazy to me about this, before I know we're almost at time, is that, like, she can hurt her brand doing a WNBA All-Star 3-point contest, right? Like,
Right.
people are going to be watching that. She could not perform well, and that's going to hurt her brand as well. It doesn't, to me, it's like you can hurt your brand in either scenario. So, and I will just say this, Sammy, you owe JJ an apology. He was able to give a serious take on the topic. I'm telling you, you gotta just have more faith in your
Why do you
friend.
assume I was talking about him? What's that about? See, I think you
No,
you
definitely.
need
I
to
know.
apologize
I knew
for
you were
as
talking
well.
about him because I was thinking about him as well. So that's how I know.
Friends.
But boys, that's actually all we have for tonight's show. I want to thank you three for being on. JJ, thanks for being on, man.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you all.
She know she love Jay because
John, thanks for being on, man.
Yo, it's great to have a full crew. Have a great night, everyone.
I'm Detective John.
Sammy, thanks for being on.
Appreciate you guys, man. It was good to be here.
Sammy takes it all the way.
And of course, shout out to our video producer, RJ. Remember to check out our YouTube channel. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Like us on our Facebook group page, The Clinic All NBA Podcast, and follow us on Twitter at Clinic All NBA. I'm Rosa Panta. This is The Clinic All NBA Podcast. Come find us wherever you get your podcasts.
No!